so welcome everybody. I am so excited because this is the culmination of people's energy and time and efforts over the last several months. Many of our elders here who are a member of the Legacy Storykeepers have been dreaming about writing their stories, have been thinking about this for years, some of them decades. And now is actually the time for them to be able to share what they have done, their hard work going forward. So welcome everyone. My name is Zarina Elamin. I am the founder of the Legacy Storykeepers. This is a movement to center our elders' voices, their experiences, and the wisdom that they share so that we are able to benefit for generations to come, right? We are living in a time where we can see it almost playing out like a movie, how the powers that be are trying to erase certain people's histories, are trying to erase certain people's stories, are trying to say that some people are not worthy of having their experiences documented and their experiences preserved for future generations. We literally see them taking artifacts out of the museum. Have you all seen this, or is it just me? Y'all know what I'm talking about, or is it just me, right? We see that we are in the middle of what I would call a cultural war. It is an affront. And why is it an affront? Why do they want to silence certain stories? Why do they want to make certain people believe that they have no value if they are not multimillionaires, multi-billionaires? Why? It's because we understand that our stories actually have value to them. There is cultural currency within our history, within our collective wisdom. And if you can cut that off, if you can make people believe that it's not important, then you can actually stop the growth of an entire group of people. So I want you all to understand that what we are doing here at the Legacy Storykeepers, it is bigger than just I'm writing my story down. In 5th grade, I walked to the store. What was the name of the store? It's bigger than all of that, okay? It is a collective movement to acknowledge our history and preserve our history for generations to come, all right? So today, we're going to have an afternoon of storytelling. We're going to have a beautiful keynote speech by Dr. Javier Wallace. We're also going to open it up for you all to be able to share your reflections at the end of the program. What did you get from listening to our Legacy Storykeepers? What did you feel within yourself? Something that maybe you reflected on in your own life, all right? So I want to see who all is here in the room. If you are here and you are celebrating a particular author, a particular Legacy Storykeeper, drop their name into the chat. Let's shout them out. Where you're joining us from, also let us know where you're joining us from. Now, if you've never been to one of my trainings before, I always start off with this sort of energetic connective tissue, if you will. What I mean by that is that just like I am sitting here in Detroit, Michigan right now, talking to you, and you are wherever you are, and there is no wire connecting us. You are not in my physical space at this time. I believe in that unseen. So what we're going to say is that we're going to create our own network, our own beautiful connective tissue that is unseen, but from me in Detroit to wherever you are. All right. So I want to hear where you all are. Shout it out into the chat. Let me know where you all are joining us from so that I can envision that now we have this kind of community, if you will, this web, if you will, right? From me to you to wherever it is that other people are from. So let me make sure I can actually see the chat. Okay. All right. Welcome, 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 everyone. New Jersey. So now Detroit to New Jersey, Grand Rapids, Raleigh, North Carolina, Maryland, Delaware, Minneapolis. Somebody says, send us some warm weather. We got
Milwaukee,
graduates for
Wisconsin.
Adrena Tart. We have Ohio. We have
Carmichael, California.
Carmichael, California. All right. Rochester, New
Milwaukee,
York.
Wisconsin.
Okay. Let y'all shout it out. Go ahead. Shout out y'all city, you all. Shout it out. Where y'all coming from?
Phoenix,
Memphis,
Arizona.
Tennessee.
Phoenix, Tennessee,
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Washington,
Philadelphia,
D.C. San Francisco,
Milwaukee,
California.
Wisconsin.
Milwaukee. Did I hear San Francisco too?
Yep, yep.
Seattle, Washington.
Seattle. I have not been to Seattle, but I heard that I would enjoy
Let's say
it.
Leesburg, Georgia open.
Okay, Georgia. I think I heard that.
Leesburg,
Louisiana.
Georgia.
Okay, something Berg, Georgia. That sounds like some type of rule. I don't know.
It's Leesburg, Georgia, and it is in the country.
Okay, I like it. I'm a country gal at heart, even though I live in the city. I am a country gal at heart. All right, where else, you all?
New York.
New York,
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Upstate New York.
Louisiana.
All right.
Wisconsin.
Cleveland,
Cameo. Oh, I
Ohio.
see some of my TSP family here. Thank you guys for coming. Sacramento, California.
Upstate New York.
Louisiana.
All right, you all. So we all over, right? We are all over. And what I want you all to feel right now, that regardless of what else is going on out there in the world, I want you to envision that right now you're in a space of positivity, okay? Right now you are in a space of love. Right now you're in a space, in a community of people who want to see our society grow in positive ways. People who recognize history is a very important part of that. And that's the space that we're in right now. So whatever else is going on, we ain't worried about it at this moment, okay? So welcome you all. I'm gonna actually start our graduation video, and then we're gonna go right into our graduates, because that's who you all are here for, right? We're here to celebrate them, their stories, their efforts. You're going to watch a little bit of a video about this Legacy Storykeepers program, what it is that we did, what your graduates did, and then we're going to actually start with Miss Marva. Miss Marva is going to be our first graduate coming up. So hold on. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen. We're going to be a family here, y'all. Listen, it's me, it's my team, Anita over here, who's a member of our Legacy Storykeepers advisory program. We got Fatima on the chat as well. But let me just tell you all that sometimes tech does not always work exactly the way that you have been planning and putting 28 hours into before. So just recognize we may have a couple of things come up, but hopefully not. So you should be able to see my screen, correct? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go, y'all. Every family has stories, stories of struggle and triumph, stories of migration, resilience, love, and lessons. But did you know that in modern-day America, most family stories are forgotten within just 3 generations? But across time and across cultures, humans have always fought to preserve their legacies. In ancient Egypt, stories were carved into stone and painted on tomb walls. In West Africa, griots memorized entire genealogies, carrying the memory of whole nations in their voices. Among the indigenous peoples across the Americas and Australia, history was woven into beadwork, carved into wood, told into circles, and songs passed down through generations. In the Andes, stories were knotted. In Polynesia, family lines were remembered through chants and markings that carry ancestral power. Wherever humans have lived, we have always found ways to say, we were here. We mattered, and this is what we know. But when I look at my lineage, the lineage of African Americans, much of that chain was broken. The transatlantic slave trade stripped us of our languages, our names, our records. For many of us, the trail of our history fades after just 3 or 4 generations, but beyond that, there is silence. Not because we don't have stories, but because they were taken from us. We cannot go back and rewrite what was lost, but from this moment forward, we can make sure no story is ever forgotten again. That is what this movement is about. The Legacy Authors Project is building our archives of memory, one life story at a time.
I thought this is a great opportunity. It's now or perhaps never.
Stop procrastinating and get it done.
Be able to accomplish the goal, getting it done. She wanted to be able to own our history.
Writing the book and learning how to write was extraordinary.
It was so genuine. I said, this is it. I'm joining.
Legacy is so important.
I thought, that's a great idea.
Well, I'd say that I'm happy that I joined Serena. I have no regrets at all.
I completed my story, and to get it out to my family and friends.
You're a coach, and you're someone who really has encouraged so many of us
about the legacy that we have and where we come from.
I don't want to be here with too much unfinished business.
I want to write about Zamora, about her story.
The Legacy Storykeepers movement is about celebrating courage, celebrating tenacity, celebrating our history. Over these past months, our graduates have shown up week after week. Guest instructors have created courses on genealogy, caregiving, and the sacred art of keeping your home. Together, our people created not just books, they created community. They built a family, one that understands the power of saying your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. We honor those who have written their stories, those who have looked at their lives and said, I have something to share. We honor our legacy story keepers, ordinary people who chose to preserve their extraordinary lives. Because when you write your story, you honor your life. When you write your story, your family has something to remember. When you write your story, you pass on wisdom to those who come after you. And when one story is preserved, our collective history grows richer. So this is more than a graduation, it's more like a cultural correction. It is a movement and a promise to the future. Today, we understand that stories are inheritance, and we have preserved our gold. We know where we're coming from, and we know where we're going. So we honor every story that has become a marker, each book that has become a guide. We know our future is secure because we have been intentional about capturing it today. Yay! Thank you all. And no, didn't the team do such a great job? I really appreciate them putting that together for us. So this is a beautiful time, right? And I'm so glad that all of you all are here with us today. Now, as we said, our authors have been writing over the past several months, some of them 3 months, some of them 4, around this or so, but they have all reached the finish line, right? Through their consistency, through their efforts, they have come to the finish line. And so right now, I am going to bring up Miss Marva Motley. Miss Marva came in and she said, I was a little bit like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. Everybody else kind of was already starting, but where is she now? At the finish line, right? Because she stayed the path. All right, Miss Marva, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Serena, for encouraging us to do this, for allowing us to use our time and talents to put something positive forward, to leave behind. I absolutely love Legacy Storykeepers. I don't know what you have in mind for us today, special, but I'm willing to read a little excerpt from my book. Not sure, should I go ahead and do that now just to give them a taste of what it is?
Yeah, let's get a little taste.
All right, because I know they'll get to see it in that video as well. But the title of my book is Clouds and Blue Skies, and it's a memoir of relationships, adversity, and triumph. And sometimes we think about our personal situations and we think that we're the only ones going through certain things. But in this particular cohort of writers, I learned that I have more in common with other people than I thought, or they have more in common with me. I receive support and encouragement from them listening and being beta readers. So for those of you who are tuning in on my behalf, thank you for being there for me. Thank you to my fellow classmates for encouraging me to do this. I was nervous, but I think I've got this. So I'm going to say, after going through my entire book, I wanted to capture the sentiments at the end. So the last chapter of my book is entitled Embracing It All. So, as I embraced the fullness of my own life, I remember watching my mother dedicate herself to caring for my father when he became ill at 75 years old. For 17 years until his passing at 92, she devoted herself to his needs, tending to him with unwavering commitment rather than open displays of affection. I never held it against her that love was shown more through service than acts or words. After my father's death, my mother shifted her care to my brother, whose long-standing battle with alcoholism kept him tethered to home and distant from the responsibilities of fatherhood. At first, my feelings toward him were clouded by resentment and frustration born from witnessing his inability to break free and become the parent his son deserved. As the years passed and his health declined, something within me began to change. The bitterness I harbored gradually gave way to a deeper understanding. I started to see that his struggles were not simply choices, but burdens he carried, shaped by circumstances that perhaps were a genetic inheritance beyond his control. The realization softened my heart. I found myself feeling sympathy and compassion for him, even regret that we had never forged a stronger relationship. I learned that his behavior toward me and others throughout his life was a result of a serious sickness that he lacked control over. In learning to forgive him and understand him, I discovered a reservoir of compassion I had not known I possessed. And these experiences have profoundly shaped the person I am today. Forgiveness has a way of humbling us. It gives way to healing and making us better versions of ourselves. Along the way, I forgave my father for the way he discarded me when my brother was born and how he breached the trust I held for him. I learned that if my mother could forgive my father for the life she was forced to live, then I too should consider forgiving my father for the life I lived and others who wronged me. So it is with the greatest of love from my mama that I end this book giving honor to the woman that I love more than life. She spent her years rising above that which held her down. She always held hope that tomorrow would be a better day. And while her years to soar may have been few, she watched me soar like the eagles. Along the way, it was the clouds and blue skies that kept me from becoming weary so that I would not faint. But it was my mother's love for me that guided me. That is the ending of that chapter. And if you'll read my book, you'll learn all that background. You'll hear that background that led up to this. But this was a wonderful experience. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to put pen to paper. And I want to thank my daughter who is on this call and my son and their families for being there when I was not my best, because we all learn as we move along. And so thank you all for listening and indulging me.
Give it up for Miss Marva, you all. Give it up for Miss Marva. Miss Marva, Miss Marva, Miss Marva. That's some heavy stuff to share. How do you feel? How do you feel?
I feel like a burden has been lifted because I've had the opportunity to say things throughout the book that I've always felt, but just didn't have the words. And oftentimes we are in situations where we don't understand certain things. And so we go along, and then all of a sudden the light comes on. It's like, you know what? I deserve to honor my feelings. So I feel relieved. I feel like burdens have been lifted. I think my mama would be proud because so much of my book is about her. And, my parents were born in the 20s. He was born in 1919, Daddy was, and then Mama was born in 1925. And so they were products of that generation. I had to come to grips with that is the way people live. In the early parts of my book, I talk about things that we experienced and, my sisters and I, my brothers and I, and based on where we came from, where we are today, we're just products of their environment, but with our own spin on it. So yes, it's a good thing. And I hope my children, particularly my children, will understand me a little better and give me a little bit more grace. I think they're pretty good, but I'm always looking for that extra grace.
I think that writing and looking back at our lives definitely builds empathy. Like you said earlier, like gives you a little bit of empathy for those who came before you who were working with what they had, but then also allows us to have empathy for ourselves. So, Miss Marva, also your family, let you all know, stay to the end. We're going to unmute you all, and I want you all to come up and congratulate, your loved ones at the end as well. I want to ask you one final question though, Miss Marva, because I know that writing about something that most people push underneath the rug and don't share can be hard even for the writer. And during our sessions, you mentioned that a couple of times, like, wait a minute, I had to put it to the side for a second. Can you share a little bit about that? Because some people would have just stopped. Some people would have said, it's too hard. I don't want to pick at that scab. But you were able to continue to get through to here. How did you actually get through those moments?
Taking time away was a good thing. Taking time away allowed me to think about the goal in mind. My goal was to be able to capture and show my growth and share my growth and to show others that you can live through things. You just have to work through things. You cannot shove it under the rug. You have to acknowledge. And had I quit, I do not think I would have been able to share. My readers would not have been able to see my growth. We want each generation to be better. And in order to be better, you have to demonstrate how you get there. I watched my mother do that. So I was able to take her lead and continue. But had I stopped, I do not think I would have been able to leave the gift behind that I plan to give to my children. And I said to them in the beginning of my book, look, I'm not giving out inheritance now. So you don't worry about getting your inheritance now. I'm not going anywhere, but I just want you to know how much I've grown, and I want you to be able to use what I've been through to move forward. So I had no option. I had to continue. It's a better day.
It's a better day. It's a better day. Miss Marva, we congratulate you. We celebrate you as one of our newest legacy story keepers. We thank you as well for putting the work, putting the effort, putting the time into doing this, not only for yourself, right, but for your family and the generations and all of us who are here to listen from you all. So give it up for Miss Marva, you all. Clap it up, heart it up, all of
And
the
thank you for
things.
this opportunity. I cannot stop there. I have to say thank you for your encouragement and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Miss Marva. Yay. Miss Adrena, you are coming up. I want to say you all, thank you, Miss Marva. I want to say you all that it is not always easy to go into our lives and to look at each individual area that, as I said, can come with some shame, can come with some doubts, can come with some fears. Now, Miss Marva is like a G. She is a boss in her professional world, right? So she is all of the things, but we all too oftentimes have those things within ourselves that we kind of want to just, hush it up a little bit. So it takes a lot of courage. And so, Miss Marva, I honor you. I thank you as well for sharing and being able to bring that forward with us today. So yes, let it out, you all. Let it out. Let it out. This is something for real. Let it out. I have learned so much. I have learned so much just from being able to sit at the feet of our beautiful story keepers and them being so gracious with coming in and sharing because they didn't have to, right? They actually did not have to. So them coming in and sharing and being so gracious, we have all benefited. So Miss Marva, warm hugs. Next time we're gonna do this in person so I can hug you for real. All right, I love it. So next up we have Miss Adrena Tart. Miss Adrena Tart has just come into this program and she has dug deep not only into her own life, but she also started doing some research around things that were relevant for the general community. And so I'm going to ask her to share a little bit from her story. Welcome, Miss Adrena, and then we're going to hear your story as well. Welcome, Miss Adrena.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here, to see everyone. Thank you to the family members for taking their time out and being present today. And just appreciate you, Sister Zarina, for guiding us and leading us through this process. It's been a wonderful process.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your story before you jump into your reading.
Okay, so the title of my book is Legacy of Valor, Embracing the Resilience of Elders to Chart the Course of Caregiving. So basically, I wanted to share a little bit about the legacy within my family. We didn't really know a lot of details about their legacy. It wasn't shared in that generation as much. Though we had snippets of some of the tragic happenings that kind of penetrated through the Great Migration of how a minister from Georgia came up to Ohio and established himself, had 7 children, one of which was my mother's father. I said 9 children, one of which was my mother's father. And my mother's father was a entrepreneurial, started a business in Dayton, Ohio. And a lot of hardship happened during that process of getting established in Dayton, finding out that just because you came from an oppressive South to the North, all was not well. There was still a lot of racism and so forth that happened. So I wanted to share a little bit about that legacy, but I wanted to also include the values that they brought, that sometimes we don't really know that there is strength, a resiliency, a perseverance that they exhibit. And they shared certain types of value systems that shaped our lives, and that they were our heroes. Our ancestors and elders are our heroes, and we can learn a lot from them if we kind of lean in and listen. So, as we do our caregiving for our elders, I wanted to be able to say to this generation that there are ways that you can learn from your elders, and how you care for them is so important. How you listen to the things that they've put before you, and they may share cultural traditions like ways of cooking, certain types of things that bring joy into your daily life. There are things that you can learn from them if you kind of lean in, and they can actually help in that latter twilight period that seems to be very difficult as you care for your elders.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking about the leaning in, right? The leaning in. And that's one of the reasons why we have a book called At Their Feet, which is sitting at the feet of our elders. 50 elders, we compiled their story into that volume. But the whole thing that we're doing here is to encourage each and every one of us to actually lean in, right? To sit at the feet of the elders that we have in our midst, in our families, in our religious centers, in our community at large, because right now we understand that a lot of the knowledge and the wisdom that could be helping us is ending up 6 feet in the ground, and we're not valuing it. So thank you for talking about leaning in. You ready to read a little bit of your story?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So caregiving wasn't something I never saw coming. When my father and then my mother became ill, I didn't call myself a caregiver. I was just doing what needed to be done. I remember attending a conference hosted by the American Society on Aging in California. I went to learn more innovative approaches in the aging industry. In one session, a young Asian woman by the name of Jen Chan, founder of the Senior Shower Project, presented a program to celebrate caregivers, similar to a baby shower, but for caregivers of older adults. She held up a beautiful designed purple and white toolkit. Enclosed were invitations, templates, guidance, language that celebrated the caregiver. Each attendee received a free package. And then she honored us. She called us caregivers. I remember thinking, that's not me. I told her I wasn't a caregiver. I said I simply took my mother to appointments and helped her with outings. But looking back, I realized I was in denial. I hadn't fully admitted what was happening or what would be required. I wanted to keep my old schedule, my normal life, and I didn't want to look too closely at my mother's fears or my own. When she hallucinated, I tried to pacify her and move on. I didn't want to ask more questions. I didn't want to see what I suspected. Denial feels protective, but it delays support. I've learned that there is another way. Embrace what is inevitable. Address denial. Don't remain silent, hoping someone else will handle it. Pray. Ask God to guide you into what you do not know. Begin building a support network early. Since my mother's passing in 2018, other relatives have needed care. Cousin Glo, who later earned a PhD in gerontology and worked as a White House news correspondent in her early years, developed a devastating condition that progressed rapidly. Within months, she lost her voice and mobility, living alone without sufficient services. Even with knowledge of the system, the benefit structure could not meet her needs. I have seen that same struggle in many families. Accidents, rehab, dementia, strokes, homebound elders. Life happens. We must prepare. We don't know what our latter days will look like, but we do know this. We are all aging. In my mother's memory and in the honor of the many elders she cared for, I carry forward lessons I learned the hard way. And I return again to the truth that has held me through everything. El Rohi, the God who sees me. As I shared at the beginning of this memoir, caregiving did not begin for me as a role or a title. It began as a way of life passed down through the generations. Though I did not have the language for it called caregiving. Long before I ever sat in hospital waiting rooms or negotiated care plans, I was being mentored by elders who showed me, often without words, what it meant to stay present, to protect dignity, and to honor family, no matter the cost. The stories of my parents, grandparents, Aunt Bee, Cousin Glo, and so many others form my earliest understanding of care. Their lives taught me that caregiving is not an interruption to life. It is life. It is shaped by faith, endurance, responsibility, and the belief that no one should be left to walk alone, especially in seasons of vulnerability. What follows is not theory. It is a framework forged through lived experience, through my father's fierce insistence on autonomy, my mother's devotion to service and hospitality, Cousin Glo's intellectual rigor and foresight, and the collective wisdom of elders who model how to carry hardship with grace.
Give it up for Miss Adrena, you all. Sister Adrena, the leaning in, the reflections on your own personal life, all of the beautiful things that you have been bringing forward with this project was really sort of special because you brought two sides to your project. You brought about your own personal life, your own personal experiences with caregiving. Then you also did some research into institutions, mental institutions, like, these, a lot of different things that was very, 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 we're going to have you back another time to talk about that part of it as well. But then a big part of what I noticed as far as your goal within this program and within your getting your story done was this desire to help other people be able to become great caregivers and do it with dignity, both for themselves, but also for the actual elder themselves. So, Miss Adrena, I know you have in your work your story and then the second part about the framework and such. But I kind of want to just pull back a little bit, why you didn't necessarily have to do it in this way. Like, why did you choose to come into the project in this way and then to organize your materials in this unique way?
Well, I learned a lot from those that I cared for. When I walked into so-called caregiving, I was trying to do just task-oriented caregiving, things that the system teaches you how to do when it comes to caring for someone. But culturally, it didn't fit. My mother didn't like Meals on Wheels. She didn't. She cooked home cooking. When you looked at the system's list of foods, that was nowhere to be found. Nothing worked. So my sister, pulling in the family that cooked like my mother cooked, that worked. So culturally, I've started to learn that we could not lose that when we are caring for a loved one. My father, who had severe persistent mental illness, just because he had a way that he saw the world through his mental illness, it doesn't give me the right to take his rights away because the system says that's the way that you caregive people with severe and persistent mental illness. He was a civil rights leader in the community at one point in his life. So culturally, I had to acknowledge who he was as a person. And he taught me that through caregiving. So the leaning in is real. That person-centered care that we need to do, that's going to take some time, and it's going to take listening, even in the silence that they may kind of give you. But it's going to take some attentive care and some attentive ways that we interface with our elders. But they are brilliant. They are resilient, and they have so much to offer. And they have just paved the path for us to walk on. And I want to be able to share that to a newer generation and document that so that they really understand those things.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Let's do a quick little poll in the audience here. How many of you all are caregivers, or you may become a caregiver in the future, or you have been a caregiver in the past? So, caregiving, how many of you all are currently caregivers? You have may become a caregiver in the future. You have someone in your life that you may be the caregiver for them, or you have been a caregiver in the past. I know for me, I ended up being a caregiver and it changed my entire outlook on life, period, right? So many things I learned during that process. But when I listen to you week after week talk about the things that you learned from your family and also your personal experiences, I realized that there are so many different levels. But if I could have been prepared a little bit more before getting into the caregiving, I think that I would have possibly saved myself some heartache and some stress and things. And so I think that I really hope that you continue to share your frameworks, share your lessons learned from the caregiving so that everybody else that is either in it or stepping into it, or I got to prepare my kids. They're going to be my caregivers one day. Listen, this is how you going to put my clothes, make my food the way I want to eat my food. Don't give me that stuff out there. I don't eat McDonald's. You know what I mean? So I got to make sure that I'm training my kids to be my proper caregivers. So I appreciate you, Miss Adrena. What do you want to say to the future generations? Listen, last thing, what do you want to say to the future generations?
I just want to begin to have conversations. I think all young people in this generation, this is a totally different type of generation. They have different communication, how they talk, their interests, and so forth. And I just think having some conversations, being open to talking honestly about that. I know I've been doing that with my daughter. She has taught me so much about this new generation. I just never thought that the new generation was really a different generation until she started being really open and honest with how she saw my life even. So that's what I really want to begin to do.
Well, we honor you, Ms. Adrena, as a legacy story keeper. We appreciate you for all of the efforts that you put into this. We pray also that your efforts are able to be recognized by others, used by others, because you've done a lot of work here. You know, you've put a lot of effort in. And I pray that other people are going to be able to benefit. And I know that your mama and your daddy, who you cared for so lovingly, are looking down on you and they are saying, that's my little girl. You know, she did it. I appreciate her for all the love that you poured into them in their later years. That's what we all want. Like, we just need somebody that's going to love and care for us when we're vulnerable. And you did that for your parents, and you're still doing that right now for your aunt. So, Miss Adrena, we recognize you. We honor you as a legacy story keeper. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Miss Willistine, I'm going to bring you up next. Are you all getting something out of this? You all, like, let me know in the chat. Do you all have ahas going off for yourself? Are you seeing bits of yourself in some of their stories that they are sharing? Are you seeing that, hey, there may be some things that I can maybe do to lean in more with the elders who are in my own life, right? Or be a better caregiver. Some of us kind of short with our caregiving. I gave you some food, but you know what I mean? Like, it ain't just about that. It's about the love, right? And that's what Miss Adrena is also sharing with us. So, Miss Adrena, our newest legacy story keepers, we honor you. We honor you. We honor you. And in the chat, they're saying yes. They appreciate and they love you for that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So next up, I'm going to bring up Miss Willistine. So let me tell you guys that we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So anyone, I know we're virtual. One day we are going to have a live event in person, right? We're going to have it in person. All of my previous story keepers who have graduated, the current story keepers, people who just love history and love stories and love elders and all of that. We're going to have a little powwow in person, right? But right now we're virtual. So that means you guys got to light up the chat. That means when we come on off mute later on, I want you all to bring your thoughts forward. I want you all to bring your congratulations forward. I am a big, big believer in the fact that we have to give our people our flowers while we can, right? And so all of those who have been here and who are sharing their stories, we want to make sure we recognize them, we honor them. This is a good use of our Sunday, all right? So I want y'all, I gotta rush out. This is a good use of your time, okay? All right? All right, so I am going to bring up Miss Willistine, Miss Willie. Let's see. Hey, Miss Willie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Now, where are you joining us from again, Miss Willie?
Clinton, Maryland, about, I'd say 6-7 miles outside of Washington, D.C. Yes.
All right, DC. You know I went to Howard, so HU.
Yes, yes.
Miss Willie, now, woo-wee, we're going to get into this because the name of your stuff is divorce, right? And we're talking about divorce, the heart side of divorce. So, Miss Willie, tell us a little bit about your story and why you're here, why you wanted to do this.
I'm here, I'm here, and I'm here. This is a place that I have dreamed of being for many, many years. I'm here because I have a story. And my story, I was convinced, was not just my story, it was other people's story too. I was in a faith-based marriage, and I'm spilling the tea. My marriage ended up in divorce, and it wasn't because I thought or I could see it coming. But that wasn't the big shocker. The big shocker was how people responded to the fact that I was in a faith-based marriage and ended up in divorce. And the silence that went around the place of worship as it pertains to how you get over it, how you deal with it. I grew up in a culture where going to the therapist was not the thing. You can do it now, but back in the day, people said, simply pray, honey. You know, things will be okay, and God's got it, and give it to God. And that was true. But there was so much other things that needed to be settled, and they were matters of the heart. So all these years, I have relived my story in different ways, and I'm glad that it has taken so long to write it, because I have now been able to deal with the matters of the heart. And I hope and I know that sharing my story, there is something in one of those chapters that's going to trigger someone else to say, you know what, I remember that. It's not just about signing the divorce decree, but it's about what happens inwardly that people never ever deal with and never ever talk about.
That people never ever deal with and never ever talk about. Yeah. So these public divorces in a space that is your spiritual home, right? Where you're coming every week. These are your second family, if you will,
Yes.
And so to have something that's so personal play out in front of the whole community. Yeah. All right. So you ready to read?
Yes, I am. I have 7 chapters, and each chapter deals with a heart condition. And this is my 3rd chapter that deals with the troubled heart. Each chapter in my book will also have a song, and it has a thought. So the name of the chapter is A Troubled Heart. And the song that goes with this chapter is I Still Want You. And this was a gospel song by Tremaine Hawkins. And the thought was, why a wrestling match? A troubled heart is not loud. It is restless. It lives in questions without answers and nights without rest. This chapter opens in the midst of my tensions, hoping, enduring, wandering, and my ultimate frustrations of being on a journey of becoming a divorced woman who had a faith-based marriage. It contains losses associated with the toxicity of divorce. It is about revelation of myself, of others, and of the God who held me even when people did not. Perhaps they were fearful that their association with me was wrong, or betrayal of their commitment to the leadership of their place of worship. Most people who knew me, knew him, knew us. Most people had no clear account of my situation. My tender, troubled heart was found in a wrestling match, and I fought to keep it from being hardened. Faith feels heavy here, no longer comforting, but confronting. It got heavy. There were days in my life when the weight on my chest felt almost unbearable. I was moving through the day, each day with a kind of strength that comes only from necessity, waking up, attending to my children, showing up at work, doing everything in my power not to collapse under the heaviness that had settled over my home and my spirit. I poured all my strength into keeping life moving for the 5 little souls depending on me. When my children's father moved out, I did not know where he had gone. I only knew that he still came to work at the same federal agency where I worked. Beyond that, I did not press to know. I had neither the time nor the energy to chase a man who was determined to be loose from me and free from me. That was his problem. And then, by an unexpected circumstance, a letter came from a utility company, returned to sender, addressed to my home, but inside bearing his new address. Wow. I felt as though God allowed that envelope to return to me, not for confrontation, but so that I would not remain in the dark. After all, something could have happened to any one of the children, and I had no guarantee my phone call would be answered. At that moment, I felt affirmed. I was holding on to the truth of the word of God, that no weapon formed against me would prosper. Now, the weapon was not my husband. I was not referring to him. That was far beyond his capabilities. It was the evil force that wanted to destroy me and my faith. I knew that as long as I kept a tender heart before God, nothing, no abandonment, no confusion, no silence, would be able to defeat me. I still had a troubled heart. I kept intervals of time. I spent intervals of time trying to communicate with my children's father. I was desperately trying to make sense of whatever plans he was regarding as the very basics of finances and the emotional obligations he still had. I felt it was reasonable and necessary to discuss all matters of daily survival and the future educational needs of our children. I already knew from countless phone calls that at some point the phone would be hung up. It was my expectation that I would receive at least some varying degrees of compassion and empathy and clarity, mature thinking, good reasoning, and definitely a show of respect for our once faith-based principles. You think? Whatever our communication, it was predominantly far from the interactions of a faith-based man and woman. Every attempt felt like I was speaking into a void. And so my anger, real, justified, burning anger, found another way to speak. My physical expression of anger was not expressed in pouring out my heart with tears. There was one evening that I appeared at my husband's high-rise apartment with our children. It was confrontational. It was emotional. It was pitiful. I still have the torn blouse to show the physical struggle. Neither of us won the fight. It was the complication. It was the totalness of my tensions, of not knowing what my future would hold, and from being abandoned. It was his frustrations in having to deal with a woman he no longer wanted to be with. In the middle of our struggle was our youngest daughter. She was being pulled by the arms, her father pulling her and her mother pulling her. It was not pretty. It was shameful and not the scene you would expect to see of a faith-based married couple, even if they were separated. Words have power. The saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me," is an old traditional rhyme that has been shared with children for many generations. At its heart, it's meant to build emotional resilience, a gentle reminder not to give someone else the power to define your worth through their speech. Well, through my anger-driven psychology, words did define my husband's worth. It was my words. It was my posted words. I resorted to writing messages and posting them on the windshield and windows of the car he was driving. Those messages were personal, and I made them public. They became my PSAs, public service announcements of my abandonment, his good living, and the sporadic child support payment. It was my truth. These conversations were usually totally ignored whenever I tried to have a personal or private telephone conversation with him. He would most times hang up on me. I became livid, to say the least. My anger did not hide behind gentle phrases. I wrote boldly, uncensored, but never with profanity. Everyone that could read what was on my mind and in my heart. And I'll end with some of the posting. Where is your child support? What kind of preacher leaves his wife and 5 children? Why are you not returning my phone calls? Why did you take the children's TV? Where are you preaching next? That's a little snippet.
Yeah, give it up, give it up, give it up for Miss Willie. Wait a minute. I'm picturing little post-it notes going on the card with all these sayings or whatever.
They were 8.5 by 11 white sheets of paper with a black marker.
Oh, wow.
That's my truth. That's my truth.
See, she ain't shared this part on the weekly call. This is new, y'all. We learning new stuff too.
Look, I'm
I
on
love
mute.
it. You know, the reason I love it though is because this is real. You know, how many people have gone through some type of heartbreak or some type of, you know, embarrassing situation or some type of dealing with some foolery or whatever, right? And like I said earlier, most people just kind of hide those things and you are bringing it forward. But the reason I love it is because many times, especially people of faith, act like we don't hurt, right? Like we don't hurt, we don't feel. I'm just like you said, I'm just gonna pray it away, just gonna pray it away. And you're going through all of the emotions. And I think that when you share those emotions, it allows other people to realize that, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not crazy. Yeah, this is some junk, right? And I'm gonna be able to deal with it. What about your kids? This is my question for you, real quick, though. Like, I know your kids were in that altercation, going back and forth, but I can imagine that a lot of what you wrote from your perspective, the children have never possibly heard before, right? Like, what about them? How do they?
There's a section, there's a chapter that I have that deals with the children, and it says, what about the children? The position that I took during that time was to protect them from the things that I could protect them from. With me being the custodial parent, I knew that sometime in life they would grow up and they would hear my story, they would hear his story, and they would have to decide, if they needed to decide, how they wanted to deal with that. So ultimately, there have been things that I have casually said, and my son and daughter says, I knew that happened. Well, that was happening doing that. It's because I felt it was my duty not to poison them, which a lot of women do against the other parent. The differences was not about them. It was about my relationship and his relationship. And so kids take sides. People take sides all the time.
Yeah.
I have no control over that. I am writing this book and can write and have written this book with no fear of, oh, they're going to say, Mom, why did you put that in? I'm doing what I am called to do. It's not about you feeling like I'm want to come out on top as the winner. And if you read my book, you'll see I'm not saying my husband was the worst person. I'm not saying that I was the best person. I'm saying this is what happened. And so as they have gotten older, and some of them have gotten married, and those who've gotten married got divorced. There is a price to be paid. I call it divorce trauma. Our children are impacted. And then I'm not saying you should stay in a bad divorce. I'm not saying if it's incest and all the other things. But there are stories beyond those type of stories that need to be told.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to go back and read your stuff because Me and Anita over here like, girl, yes. So yeah, so we definitely gonna have to read it and dissect it. But like we said, like you mentioned, the children getting into divorces, like if we're able to start having open conversations about all of the complexities and all of the different layers that come with these things, then hopefully we can, help other people be able to go through it just a little bit better. So, Miss Willie, give it up for Miss Willie, you all. I want to congratulate you as a legacy story keeper. I thank you for digging deep. I thank you for pushing through. I thank you for your honesty and your authenticity. We talked about this a lot, right? When we're writing our life stories, we're writing it from our perspective, but it is not to glorify us. It is not to make us look good or any of those things. It is a self-reflection, but it has to be in a place of authenticity and truth. And you were able to do that. Look at it from all the sides and say, this is my perspective, this is my truth. And that is sometimes difficult for some people to do. So, Ms. Willie, we honor you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And we pray that your children, when they're reading this as well, that they get a little bit more of an understanding of what was going on with mommy and daddy, at least from mommy's perspective, right? Like what was happening that time when you got pulled back? Like what was she actually thinking? Because they got their own memories and they, as you said, they have their own interpretations, but we're able to fill in the gaps from your side, right? So give it up for her, y'all. So they said when the book comes out, so Miss Willie is going to be publishing her stuff in some time. I should say some people publish strictly for their families, right? Strictly for their families. And some people decide that after a little bit, they want to share it. All of our legacy story keepers get to decide. They don't have to put anything out that they don't want to. This is their book, their story. They own it, right? And so for those who are asking in the chat, how can I get it? If you all have not formally registered to this program, we don't have your email, but you can email us at legacy@legacystorykeepers.com and we will add you to the list. And when their books come out, we'll share them with you so that you can get them and join in as well. So, Ms. Willie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we got 3 more, you all. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? I think I'm actually going to jump to Miss Naomi and then I'm going to come to Miss Sharon and then we're going to end with Sister Beatrice. That's going to be our final order. All right. So Sister Naomi, you're going to be up next and I'm going to go to Miss Sharon and then I'm going to come to Sister Beatrice. And then we're going to have Dr. Javier Wallace and I'm going to bring him up for our dynamic keynote speaker. How are y'all feeling about today? How are y'all getting something out of the conversation? Let me hear one person's reflection real quick. Anybody getting something out of the actual presentation? Let me have one person. Let me have one person come off real quick. I just want to hear how you are feeling. Are you getting something? Is it beneficial? Is this a good use of your Sunday?
I'll
Yes.
go.
Let me hear.
This is Dr. Tart. I'll even go off of on video or whatever. But
Yeah,
this is
come on
Dr.
video so I can spotlight you. Because I
This
can't
is
spotlight you if you don't come off
yeah, I'm
video.
off video, so I'm over here on the couch. But
Okay, there we go.
I am Adrena's daughter, so I'm always the one with my hand up. I'll go. Yeah, so without her, I wouldn't be a doctor without all of the support. So I would like to say that is kind of what I'm taking away from this as well, not to just like pat myself, but like literally the stories, Miss Willie, woo! My aunt was texting me in the background, like, did you da da da? And we're going like, I mean, we're literally texting about Miss Willie while she's talking. So and realizing that there are some people that like our family we don't share depth we go reflection and framework with it, and Miss Willie is going and I want book 2 already. So I think and then Miss Marva, same thing, just a beautiful rendition of your family and kind of just again it's all coming back to perspectives. I remember sitting about 10 years ago in a fire pit conversation with my father who told me that my childhood perception of everything is not what happened at all. And I was like, I mean, that's cool, but guess what? It was still how I thought at 12 or how I thought at 17. And that's still valid because it framed my experience at that age. And that's kind of what I was thinking when Miss Willie was talking and when people were talking about the kids. It does. There's many people in everyone's story. My mother's and ours included. I'm sure Miss Marva's. I mean, and it just, that's what I'm taking out of it. There's so many layers. You said it absolutely correctly. up, down, and around. I'm going through breast cancer right now,
We
treatment.
pray for your healing. We pray for
Oh,
your healing.
I mean, I'm just healing, and my mother's caring for me. I'm going to care for her. It goes, I mean, it's not just elders and us and young, and I mean, it's literally more layered than that and all the way around. So I think it's beautiful what you're doing. I did not plan on sitting here for 2 hours, but I'm ready for the next 3. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tart. I appreciate you coming up and sharing with us. And we also pray for your healing. We pray that your oncologists are guided and that everything that you need in order to have a very fast recovery is there for you. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you sharing that with us as well. So yes, I know that it can be on Zoom, it can feel a little long, but if you got to stand up and do your little jumping jacks, I'm standing. I can't sit. I have to stand. So y'all know me, I'm a stander. Whatever you got to do, we're going to honor our elders. We're going to honor their experiences. We're going to honor their efforts, right? And so it is, as I said, a very good use of my time. I feel happy that I have invested my time with you all here this afternoon. So we're going to go to Sister Naomi. And then after Sister Naomi, we have Sister Sharon, Sister Beatrice, and then Dr. Javier is going to bring us up, right? And that's going to be our afternoon. And then after that, you all, I'm going to open up the floor for any of you all who have reflections or thoughts, comments, questions to our panelists today. I'm going to give you all the opportunity to congratulate them, and then we'll go from there. All right, sound good? So, Sister Naomi.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey,
How you
assalamu
doing?
alaikum. I'm good.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sister Naomi.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining in. Now, you came to us because you were the friend of one of our guest instructors, Anika Khan, who was doing, who was
I
doing,
forgot.
yeah.
How about that?
I
Yeah.
know. You're mine now. So now that
Uh-oh.
is how you came. That is how
Yes,
you
now I remember her passing this on to me. Yeah, it's been a while, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anika Khan is a genealogist, and she came in and did one of the special classes for some of our earlier folks centered around this work and such. And so Sister Naomi is a friend of hers, and then she came in. Sister Naomi, now you are someone that has been doing a lot of work in the community overall, right? Now,
Yeah.
why did you want to do this though? Why this project?
Okay. I felt it very important for me to do this project because I am a first generation Muslim in my family. And I have been listening to stories. Actually, I've been motivated by my aunt, my grandmother's sister, who lived to be 100. And I have a copy of her story. She wrote her own memoir. And it was a motivation to me.
Wait a minute. You said your aunt who lived to be 100 years old,
My great aunt,
your
actually. She's my
great
great
aunt.
aunt. My grandmother's sister wrote her own memoir. And because of her writing that, although her daughter finished it after she passed, because she wrote her memoir, our family on my maternal side has been able to track and learn about many of our family members from back in the 1800s. My sister is our family historian, and she has documented and done a lot of research on our family on my mother's side. And because of that, we know a lot about many of our ancestors that we probably would not have known had my great aunt not written her own memoir. She told us some stories. She gave some names. She let us know where the plantation was, where where her grandmother was enslaved. So that was a motivation, first of all. But secondly, I felt the need to write my story as a first generation Muslim because as I listened to stories of my family members, I said, it's important because I'm the only Muslim in my family. I mean, cousins, siblings, whatever. I said, it's important for me to write this because as my children have children, and they, my daughter has a son, I have one grandson, and then they have children on down through generations, I may still stand out to be the only one that's Muslim. So it's important for them to know how and why I took this journey. Why am I on this path? So I decided it's important for me to write this down. So those who will come after me may choose Islam as a way of life for themselves. And I don't want them to feel like they're the only one. They can look back and say, oh, either as a great grandmother, she was Muslim. What helped her get through, But that's basically why I felt the need to write this story.
Thank you
Well,
so
and
much.
it's primarily for my family.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know you were like, listen, I'm publishing for my family. And I said, yes, as you know, we all get to choose, right? You don't have to share
Yeah.
it out in the world. But what I want to say, what I want to just take a moment to honor your great aunt who wrote her story down. I mean, what a remarkable gift that
Yeah.
she gave you all.
Yeah.
What forethought, right? For her to
Yeah.
put that down. That is amazing, right? That is
Yeah.
absolutely
She,
amazing.
she was born in 1875 and she died in 1975. So she was 100 when she passed, but she was really a feisty lady, and she just was very motivated and she liked to lead things where everybody said, Aunt Katie was bossy. So, but that's okay. She did some things that have really helped us, her progeny, those of us who've
Yeah.
come after her.
Yeah.
So, yes. So,
So,
I wanted to write my story like my
yeah.
great aunt did.
We definitely acknowledge her, and it brings to forward. I'm going to let you read in just a second, but it really brings forward our point with this movement that we can't change the past. So many of our stories have been cut off. Many of us don't know generations for
Right.
obvious reasons. And we can't change always the past, but we can be proactive and
Yeah.
intentional from this point forward, right?
Yes,
So we
yes.
may not all have a great aunt that wrote down, but we're gonna be
Yeah.
somebody's aunt or somebody's uncle. So hey,
That's
go
right.
from
That's
this point.
right.
So you ready
Yeah.
to
So
read?
I am. I just want to say all of the stories I've heard so far, I would be in and out at classes, but all of the stories from the ladies who have read are just outstanding and quite, oh wow, it's hard to describe, but motivational and inspiring. So I just want to say, I appreciate each one of you who've shared your story, and thank you so much for sharing. So I'm ready to read. So I'll start. As I said, I've written this for my family, primarily my children, and of course, any other family members, siblings, or whomever might want to read it. And I'll start with God's name, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. Let me put up. This is the introduction to my book. I say, dear family member, if you are reading this book, I suspect that you are curious about my life as a first generation Muslim, having grown up in rural North Carolina in a family whose religion of choice has been Southern Baptist for generations. Certain beliefs and traditions were ingrained and passed down generation after generation. How and why did I break from those traditions to accept Islam, a way of life that was foreign and unknown to my immediate family? What challenges did I face for this decision? And how did I power through them? It was not easy. Actually, it was very difficult. I was like an explorer who dared to venture into the unknown in search of answers until my heart and soul let me know that I was in the right place. In the Muslims' holy book, the Quran, God promises us that with every difficulty comes relief. While traveling on this path as a first generation Muslim, I found this to be true. No matter the difficult challenge that I faced, God always provided relief from places that I could not have imagined. In fact, looking back, I see that God was guiding my life and watching over me before I ever heard the word Islam, much less having embraced it. Coming to understand my obligations to God, I have felt a sense of independence, fearlessness, and an awareness of who I am. I have grown to better understand my purpose in life, and I believe this unveiling will continue until I take my last breath. Had I not chosen to live as a Muslim, would I have tapped into my creative potential? What would my family life have looked like? These are questions that I will never know an answer to. However, I know that I have lived as a single mother, experienced 3 unsuccessful marriages, buried 2 sons, and learned to manage pain and hurt on many levels. Yet I have continued to stay this path. Although these deep bruises were painful, it was only by the grace of God that I stayed the course, did not give in to the pressure, and have come to see that most of the hurtful words, slights, and snubs that came from those closest to me and whom I love came from a place of love, yet with a lack of understanding. Even though I have been a practicing Muslim now for over 50 years, I accept that there is still some mistrust, fear, and maybe some Islamophobic tendencies among some members of my family. Nonetheless, God willing, Islam is firmly grounded in me, and it is continuously growing in America. Muslims are breaking ground and building houses of worship across the Deep South. I do believe that nothing happens without God's permission. So, shaken but unbroken, these experiences throughout my life had led me to study more diligently and practice living as a Muslim. Furthermore, these experiences have led me to complete the 5th pillar of faith by making Hajj to the holy city of Mecca in 2011. And with humility, I do bear witness that after returning from Mecca, I began to experience a new type of spiritual and intellectual enlightenment. It seemed that the light in my soul grew brighter. I had a new spirit. I became more inspired, motivated, and creative. I am more confident, better informed, and determined to try to live more intentionally and consciously. Although trauma, disappointments, and failures felt crushing as they occurred, only by Allah's permission has my life unfolded and evolved as it has. God already knew the choices I would make and the consequences that would follow. I am thankful that God is now and has always been with me. He built up my faith and strength, favored me with opportunities to live with dignity, social, moral, and intellectual consciousness. With strength and tenacity, I have kept moving forward because I understand that my purpose in life is to serve, work for the pleasure of my Creator, obey His guidance, and try to leave this world better than I found it. Thank you. That's the introduction. So I get into detail about some of the trauma, some of the triumphs, and some of the successes that I have experienced on this journey as a first generation Muslim. Dedicate this, of course, to my family members, my parents, my siblings, my grandson. And like I said, I hope that if any of them who come after me, those many generations, if any of them choose to become Muslim, they will have this document as a testament that regardless of whatever challenges they may face, that they have a source, their creator, God, Allah, with them, and that it is well worth staying the course. Thank you.
Give it up for Sister Naomi, you all. Well worth staying the course.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I think that our spiritual lives are such an important aspect of who we are, how we live daily, right? Many of the actions that we take on a day-to-day basis are influenced by our spirituality. So you making that decision for yourself, choosing something years ago, and then staying with that all of these years coming forward is powerful, powerful, powerful indeed. But I think the explanation of it, because a lot of people who change their spiritual paths, their family members are confused. You know, why would you turn your back on all of those things come up? And
Yes.
so you being able to explain some of those things for your children and your other family members is a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. So
Thank you. I think it's important, to make sure they have that understanding.
in your words,
In
not
my
like,
words,
yeah.
like, yeah, because, one of my son that's living said, Mom, you must have been the black sheep of the family. And I said, no, not the black sheep, but I just chose another path. I mean, it wasn't like I intentionally chose to do something that would cause my family a lot of distress. But some things you just don't have control of over. Yeah, things in your soul and your heart, you don't really have. I mean, you really don't. If you're being true to yourself, you just can't make decisions and change because somebody else doesn't like what you're doing. You have to be true to yourself.
Beautiful. Well, Sister Naomi, we thank you. We honor you for being
Thank
a
you.
legacy story keeper. We appreciate you for staying keeping the charge, right? Your great aunt did it, and then now
Yeah.
you're doing it, and then other people in the future are going to do it, and all of us here are inspired by you
Thank
having the
you.
courage and going forward and moving. So I love too the fact that you said this is for my family, right? This is for my family, and it is worthy, right? It is absolutely worthy. So, Sister
Thank
Naomi,
you.
thank you, thank you, thank you,
I
thank
thank
you, thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
thank you. I know I said, I think I'm actually going to go to Sister Naomi's friend, and then we're going to have Sister Sharon come up after that.
Beatrice.
Because, yes, Sister Beatrice, I'm going to bring up Sister Beatrice, and then I'm going to have our historian of the group, our cousin of the group, Sister Sharon, come after her, and then Dr. Javier. So, Sister Beatrice is Sister Naomi's friend, and they have very similar paths, right? Some very similar, interesting discussions and conversations and things that they did in their life. And I want to bring up Sister Beatrice next, and then we're going to go to Sister Sharon. All right, Sister Beatrice, you there?
I am.
Okay, there we go. Get it with the green, with the mosque in the background. You get it, sis. She said, let me get my little virtual background. I love it. And it's too cute. Too cute. Too cute. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Beatrice.
Walaikum assalam.
So, Sister Beatrice, you came into this program. Why? Why did you want to write this? Why was this important for you to dedicate your time, your energy, and your money? You paid to be in this. Like, why was it important for you to actually do this?
Well, because right now I have the opportunity. And I like telling my own truths and my own story. We do have a family historian, but he's more or less chronicle large things. And I like stories, I like details. And we in our family don't really have those details. When my mother passed in 2018, so much was buried with her, so much history. And I just figure that someday I have an inquiring mind, kind of like mom, and I figure I will have descendants who will be pretty much the same and one day wonder, how did we get on this path? All of our other relatives are of the faith, especially the Christian faith. How is it that we got to be Muslims? So I just chose to, I saw your advertisement on Facebook, and it was an opportunity for me. And I just said, I'm going to sit in and I'm going to listen. And then I signed up, and you have provided excellent guidance with us along the way. So I decided to write this for my descendants because when I am silenced in death, that is it. And I realized, took the opportunity now also because I realized I'm in the fourth chapter or the fourth season of my life. And so it's kind of like now or never.
Beautiful. And you decided to focus on your spiritual journey as well, right?
Yes. I decided to focus on my spiritual journey, and the name of first of all, my name is Beatrice Muhammad. I'm from Durham, North Carolina, and the title of my legacy book is A New Dawn, My Journey as the Family's First Muslim. And I use the metaphor of dawn to describe my path, how each new beginning brought light, clarity, and purpose to my life. Should I go on and read?
Yeah, we want to hear. You ready to read?
Okay, I'm ready to read.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the selected reading today is from the introduction and the chapter on Before Dawn. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. My beloved descendants, before you were born, before your names were spoken, or you were even anticipated, I made a choice that forever changed the course of our family story. I embraced Islam, even though it set me apart from those I loved most. There's an hour before dawn when the world is quiet but not at rest. Night still lingers, yet its grip has loosened. Nothing outward has changed, but something within begins to shift. This is the hour when questions rise, when the soul listens more closely, and when faith quietly begins to move from inheritance to intention. This is where my journey began. I did not seek to be first. I had never even heard of Islam. Yet life placed me on a path I could not have imagined, and I became the first Muslim in my family. In choosing Islam, I did not only change how I worshiped, I changed how I was seen, how I was understood, and how I was received. Being first meant walking without a map, without reassurance, and without the comfort of family footsteps beside me. There's a particular loneliness that comes with being first. It's not dramatic, it's quiet and persistent, felt in moments of misunderstanding and unanswered questions, and the distance that can grow even among those who love you. I stood at the intersection of love and difference, still connected, yet suddenly apart. Before dawn, faith is often inherited rather than examined. Beliefs are shaped by family, culture, traditions, and lived sincerely, sometimes deeply, but without fully being chosen. For many, this is enough, for some, it's not. There are souls who awaken early, not because they're wiser, but because Allah has placed within them a restlessness that will not allow sleep to remain comfortable. It is here that our pure God-given nature begins to stir. We call it fitra. The fitra is quiet. It whispers that truth exists beyond habit, that faith must eventually be chosen, not just received. It calls the soul gently, persistently toward clarity. Within that loneliness, I found strength. Choosing Islam required conviction, but living it required patience, resilience, and trust in Allah when affirmation was scarce. I learned to stand firm without becoming hardened, to remain loving without shrinking myself, and to trust that obedience to God would carry me when human understanding could not. Being first followed me beyond family into workplaces, meetings, and spaces, being the only Muslim in the room, explaining why I was fasting, why I dressed as I dressed, why I paused to pray. All eyes on you, constant explanation, but quiet endurance. Yet, even there, before full light arrives, something was being established. The hour before dawn is not yet light, but it's no longer dark either. It is the space where intentions form, where discipline is born, where the soul decides where it will rise when called or turn over and go back to sleep. This book is written from that hour. It's not a rejection of the night, but preparation for the day. It is not a story of separation, but of courage, of choosing truth, even when it requires standing alone. It is a witness to transformation, of how Allah guides a soul gradually through inheritance, through mirage, through partial light, until the heart is ready for clarity. It is the story of being called early, not for distinction, but for responsibility. Dawn will come, it always does, but not everyone is awake when it arrives. This is the story of my life, a journey of faith, family, and service. From my childhood in Blunt's Creek to my professional life in Durham, from the Nation of Islam to the embrace of Al-Islam. It is written not to glorify myself, but to bear witness to Allah's mercy. And I write it so that you may know. This journey did not end with me. In some quiet and evolving way, this story became yours too. And it all began before dawn.
Very nice. Sister Beatrice, my goodness, you got away with words, my love. You know, the whole analogy, all of it, the being the first, and even those of us who maybe stayed within the same faith tradition as their families, we've all been sort of the first in something or a little bit different outside of the regular group. And we can all resonate with that and the courage that it takes to be the first or outside. It was absolutely a beautiful reading, but I really am thankful for your children to be able to understand more about how you made the decision, but also the endurance that comes. You know, when people take different paths in their faith tradition, and like you said, dressing different, looking different, eating different, all the different things, right? It comes with just such a big old spotlight on you. So to endure that for decades, right? For your faith to have endured for decades, for you to choose a different path and live that way for decades is absolutely powerful, but it's also like, how did she do it? You know what I mean? So I appreciate you sharing and writing this down. Your children, have any of them read it so far?
I gave them a draft, and I haven't heard back as to whether or not they have read any of it or not. But we've talked over the years and they know pretty much my life story, but of course, not all the details if they take the time to read. And they're definitely going to say, well, Mama, I didn't know that. Or, you know, you never told us this, that, or the other. But being different and being the first is not easy. I had a very happy childhood. I just was embraced with a lot of love. And, you know, you think that you're going to see that level of expression kind of throughout life. But then when you veer off and you make a choice that is different from others, there's a lot of speculation. And during the time that I embraced Islam, it was, you know, part of that decision was the civil rights movement and so forth. There was a lot of apprehension with my family. They feared. They didn't know what I was getting into. There was love there, but it was just like, do you really know what this movement is about? You know, it was that fear, that apprehension, because I started with the Nation of Islam, and people at that time was calling it Black Muslim movement. And I mean, I guess they thought it was kind of like Black Panthers, and they're going to always put that negative spin onto things. So that was that fear, out of love, really, I think, coming from my parents. Others, it's just kind of like speculation, why you dress like that, you need to take that rag off your head and so forth. It's different, but you have to have that resilience if you have the love for God and for what you're doing.
Yes.
And, you will persist on. You just have to be strong. I got in my childhood, my upbringing, I got a little peep of that. I had an uncle who was a born again Christian. And I mean, everywhere he went, every time he walked into your house, he would ask you, how's your faith? Have you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? So he would go into a whole lot of questions. And because he lived his truth so diligently, I think it was a reminder for some who were not living just right. It was like, I don't want, or I don't need to be reminded. And I saw people shun him. So when I saw people shun me, I just thought, okay, they did Uncle Golden that way, so this is to be expected.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes, being able to see examples of where it is and get our strength from that is absolutely beautiful. Sister Beatrice Muhammad, we thank you so much. We honor you as a legacy story keeper. We appreciate you for putting down to paper your thoughts, your wisdom, your experiences, and sharing more of what you know for future generations to come. Everybody clap it up for Sister Beatrice. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, everybody in the chat is loving it all, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Like I said, I know this is an investment of our time, and I think it's a beautiful investment of our time. And I'm going to bring up Sister Sharon and then Dr. Javier, I know, who has been patiently waiting as well. We're going to have you close us out. And you all are going to want to hear Dr. Javier. I specifically chose him for a reason. And you are going to hear why I specifically chose him in just a moment. So we're going to bring up the cousin of the group. We call ourselves the Cousins Collective, right? So we are family within our program, within our group. And this next cousin, Sharon, she just came in like with a little force. There we go. All right, Miss Beauty. Hey, Miss Sharon, how are you?
Hi, everybody.
So, Miss Sharon, the family, you said you were already the family historian of your family. You were the historian of your family, right? But this was a special project.
Absolutely. I'm the family historian genealogist. I had written some things before, but nothing formal. Something in a family reunion booklet. My sophomore year in college was the first time I had to write about my family. So that kind of really got me started for a class project. And that's like 1981. And in 1990 for the family reunion, I had interviewed my grandparents for school and for the family reunion. And that was the second time I put something on paper.
On paper. So what did you get out of this experience? Because you were doing like some genealogical research and stuff, like with the actual putting it on paper, what else did you feel really came to you from this opportunity to put it in this way?
Even though I had previously written, I wanted to make sure that I was able to structure my writing. And lately, I have shared that I wanted people to know that I took a class and that when you purchase my book, it's a book based on someone who took a formal class and learned how to write, not just somebody who just decided, I want to write a book. So I wanted to have something behind me that showed she really invested in herself to learn how to write something and to bring it forward for the family. That's really what I really wanted to. I wanted my family to know that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, that stamp of approval, right? Like that stamp of authority that yes, I'm doing it. But one of the things that you brought to the group, and I'm going to have you read your reading in just a second. One of the things that I took away from you being a part of the group was the diligence to do research. You talked about going, finding research, traveling to different locations in your family history, pulling out information from the census, from this, from that, right? You were very, very, very intentional about doing the research. And I think that that's one thing that I definitely took away from you being in the group. So I want to thank you for that as well. And I see Miss Mardine. Can you tell them real quick the story of you and Miss Mardine, who is another one of our story keepers? All of my clients and other story keepers in the chat, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Miss Mardine graduated last time and she said, hey, cuz. So tell us real quick, Miss Sharon, how y'all found out that y'all was just not legacy cousins, y'all was real cousins.
What actually happened was it was just really fate. We were in class and Mardine needed someone to read her work. And I was like, well, I'm new and I don't have a lot of experience, but I'll read it. And then Serena said, well, we're going to get somebody else to read Mardine's work. And Mardina read that person's work. It's like, switching up one hand, washing the other. So Mardine put her work on the collective Facebook page and I read it. And I had forgotten it wasn't for me, it was for somebody else to read her work. But I read it anyway. And when I read it, I saw that she had a lot of information in there about her family. And because I do genealogy research, census record, I decided, well, for a little small gift for Mardine, I'll just do her genealogy and just present it to her. When I went and did her genealogy, I had everything done like I normally do. And then I realized, let me see if I have any relatives related to Mardine. And I put her family surname in with mine. And when I looked up, we turned out to be DNA cousins. And I just could not believe it. It wasn't anything that, I was trying to do. It just so happened that we ended up being DNA cousins. And when I texted her, I said, can you talk? And she's like, no, not right now. I'm kind of busy. I said, well, can you stop what you're doing and talk to me? She was like, yeah. And when she did, I told her, I said, Martine, we're cousins. And DNA match. And she had never taken a DNA test, but somebody in her family line had taken one. And based on the information that was in her story, it collaborated. And that's how I found out that we were cousins. But I do want to say this to my cousins in the collective. I have not done yours yet to see. I might have some more cousins in here. I have not done anybody else's but Mardine. So Adrena and all the other people who I have done your work, Iola, I have not checked to see if we're DNA cousins related.
I love it. 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 When you brought that back, I was like, oh my God, are you serious? So we're not just spiritual cousins, we like blood cousins up in here now. I love it. I love it. All right, you ready to read?
I am. I'm
yes,
ready.
ma'am.
The title of my book is Through Trials and Triumphs, The Nichols Family History, a family history drawn from records, memory, and blood. Anyone can create a document. A census taker may mishear a name. A clerk might record the wrong date. A grieving child could mistaken information for a death certificate. And sometimes people themselves choose to alter the truth to appear younger, to hide a scandal, or to reinvent who they were. Paper records, as valuable as they are, can bend beneath the weight of human error and human intention. Documents can lie, but DNA never lies. Within each delicate strand lies unbroken record, passed silently from parent to child across generations. Long before a name was written on a census line or carved into a gravestone, The evidence of kinship was already there, carried in blood. DNA is the constant, the thread that cannot be altered, linking us to ancestors we may never have met and to relatives we never knew exist. Yet, DNA alone cannot tell the whole story. It proves connection, but not the lies behind those connections. The farmers and midwives, the mothers who buried their children, the men who worked the fields until their hands blistered, the women who cooked and prayed and dreamed freedom into being. For that, we must return to the documents, flawed as they are, and to the stories, fragile as memory. Together, they form a fabric, two kinds of truth woven side by side, the genetic truth written in our blood, and the lived truth preserved in records and recollections.
Yes, yes. Sister Sharon. Thank you so much. Erica said something in the chat. She was like, "Oh my God, I'm loving this already," right? I learned that in my own research. I think it is so powerful what you're doing. And you are looking at connections with Mississippi, and you're looking to do this even broader, right? Like you have a whole series of things that you want to write
Oh,
about.
I want to do each one of my family surname. This is my Nichols surname. And in this research, I did find mine, white enslaver, which is like my fifth great grandfather. And I am 3%, no, I'm 1.5% Native Americans. So I'm excited about getting that book done too. So I have about 8 family surnames. And I'm writing a book on each one. And my last book, which will be my 9th book, will be a book about my life. But right now, it's all my genealogy, family history with each family surname on
With
both
each
my parents.
Yeah, you're a gift. You're a gift to your family. You're a gift to everyone who is inspired to do this type of research. You are an inspiration to us to like dig deep, but you're also an inspiration to us to like leave some of those records behind, right? There are going to be other people coming along that are going to be looking for records, just like you. You're out there searching, you're going places and looking. Like there are going to be other people coming behind trying to do the research that you're doing. So what they find depends on what we leave, right? What they find depends on what we leave. What would you say to your son? I know like your son and your generations to come. What do you want to say to them?
It's like this. My son, he's like not even interested in this. And you're going to have family members like that who are not, this is not their forte, but this is mine's. And then I have come across some other family members who've taken the DNA test, so they do show an interest. I did not want them to do the same thing I had to do and start from scratch. I got the work done. Everything's on public domain. What I hope to do in leaving this legacy is for someone else to come behind me and finish the race. I want to pass the baton. I don't want to be like some people do in their casket with the baton in their hand, and people got to come and pry it out of their hands. That's not what I want. What I wanted to do was do the work so that somebody can come behind me and continue the course.
I love that analogy of they ain't got to pry it out of your hands. You are giving it. You are passing it. I love that. Miss Sharon, we honor you as a legacy story keeper. We appreciate you. We are inspired by you. I am so thankful that you have been with us in the program and that you stuck with it because you said, listen, little girl, you told me that I could write this in 3 months, 4 months if I kept with the pace. And you said, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to get it done. And you did.
You can do it. I didn't think I could. At first I was like, yeah, and then I was like, ooh, but then bam, it was easy. You made it so easy, and I did it in 2.5 months.
Because she was focused.
I
She
was
was focused and yeah, and within the midst of everything else. So we love you. We thank you. We appreciate you, Miss Sharon. Everybody give it up for her. Yay. And give it up for all of our legacy story keepers. We appreciate them so much. We are so excited And we are going to have so many things coming forward with them. So look out. If you're not on our mailing list, make sure you email us, legacy@legacystorykeepers.com. Email us so that you can join our mailing list, because we're going to be kicking off more programs, more things, more inspirational talks and all of the things, right, going forward. So right now, I want to bring up Dr. Javier Wallace. Dr. Javier Wallace. All right. So Dr. Javier Wallace is a scholar, a speaker, a founder, and he works to uncover and amplify the untold stories of Black athletes across the Americas. He is a historian. And what we're doing here, right, is trying to write our history for future generations. And people like Miss Sharon have been looking at documents and things going from the past. And Dr. Wallace is one that is looking at all of it, right? The past and then also with the future. So his book, Basketball Trafficking, Stolen Black Panamanian Dreams, published by Duke University Press, exposes the global pipeline that moves young athletes across borders and into exploitative systems. This isn't just theory, it's lived experience, it's academic research, and it's policy urgency all in one. So he is a TEDx speaker. He is a movie producer, a documentary producer. He has been featured on CNN, ESPN, Travel Channel, all of the above. He also is the founder of the Black Austin Tours. So he has built one of the most visible cultural storytelling brands in the region. He brings history, place, and narrative together for tens of thousands of guests. And that is one of the reasons that I invited him to be our keynote speaker here for the Legacy Story Keepers. Dr. Javier Wallace, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zarina. Really appreciate the invite. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Congratulations to everybody who has shared their story this afternoon. I mean, as somebody who's a historian, you all showed and shined a light that was very bright and makes me very happy to know that your stories will continue to be told. And so it's just been amazing this afternoon to have learned so much more about you all intimately. And I know everybody who will read your stories, whether you created this for a public audience or you made it for your family, will be indebted to you all. And hopefully it will serve as a motivator for them and everybody else who are on the call in support of you, or just here in support of Zarina, or just wanted to hear some great stories, to also understand the urgency and understand the importance of us being able to capture our own stories and our own words in the times that we have in health to do so. And so, good afternoon again. My name is Dr. Javier Wallace, as Zarina mentioned. I am originally from Austin, Texas. I'm currently in Durham, North Carolina. So, Sister Beatrice, shout out. I'm here in Durham. I've been here since 2021. I am a professor at Duke University, working in the program of education in the African American Studies department here at Duke. So that brings me to Durham. And I mean, there's really no better site in my estimation, one of the best sites in the country and around the Black diaspora to be than Durham, North Carolina, because of the deep-rooted history here and how much impact has been made from this space for Black people around the globe. And so it's my honor to be in Durham, North Carolina, and be able to join us and have this quick, rooted conversation. As Arena mentioned, I am the co-producer, co-director of CB Power to the Player. It is a short film about Duke's first Black basketball player, Claudia CB Claiborne, who came to Duke in 1965. And we just had a screening in Durham. We sold out the theater at the Nasher. It was amazing. Our goal is to have a feature-length film. We've been in plenty of film festivals and going into more Oscar qualifying festivals. We have Pan-African Film Festival next week in Los Angeles. We also have South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, coming in March for the screening of the short film. Also, I'm the author of Basketball Trafficking, as Arena mentioned, Stolen Black Panamanian Dreams. That recently came out on Duke University's press, and it is a very personal book, and very much like you all, it is a portion of my story, and a portion not only of mine, but of another young person that exposes what a lot of young people go through in pursuit of their basketball dreams. And then, of course, Black Austin Tours I founded Black Austin Tours in 2019, and it is the largest heritage-based tourism company dedicated exclusively to Black people in Central Texas and the region. And I'm super proud of that. Co-founded Afro Latino Travel, which is another heritage-based education and travel company that focuses on Latin America. And all of those things that I mentioned, those accolades that many people would say that I have achieved or have come through, have all come through story. Airbnb said I was a master storyteller when they filmed me in Austin back in whatever year that was. They wanted to know if I could share with the people who were looking to become hosts on their platform how I could tell stories so well. I have achieved there was no other person hosting on Airbnb that had acquired the amount of feedback positively and had the best reviews for storytelling. And so they wanted to know if I could share with them. And the only place that I could think of to share with other people who wanted to know how to tell their story was other than look at yourself first. Look at the individuals who allowed you to be in the position that you're in and speak from that point. Because for me, that has been the thing that has allowed me, they have been the people that have allowed me to move forward. But I didn't always know this power about myself. I didn't know this power about my family until I had to fall to the bottom. And this came a little bit after I had started to get some accolades for doing these tours, particularly in Austin. But I'll never forget, it was a youth group, it was a Black Center youth group that were doing a Black History Month presentation, and they invited me again to be their keynote speaker for youth. But the one thing that they wanted to do, they asked the children that were participating to bring in a story about one of their ancestors and share, like show and tell. And so I was to be the last person to go to do the keynote, something like today. And I'll never forget the feeling that I had sitting there listening to these middle school kids primarily talk about their ancestors. A lot of these children were able to say, well, my grandmother was the founding member of XYZ sorority. My great grandfather holds a patent for this invention. My great uncle was the president of this university. XXYZ and the third, and they kept going. And big old me, y'all gotta know I'm big. I played football at Florida A&M, so I've been a big person my entire life. So big old me is sitting there feeling so small, like my football coach. I couldn't high jump to get on the curb. That's how small I felt. Because I said, wow, who do I have to talk about? I'm sitting here thinking about my grandparents on both my mother and father's side, and my mom is from Austin in Texas, and my grandmother was, she always talked about being a domestic and working in white folks' home. And I thought about my grandfather, and he was a sharecropper, and they picked cotton and they chopped and hauled cotton. And I thought about my dad. My dad is from Panama. I thought about his parents. They only went to school until the eighth grade, and they worked in the Panama Canal. Their ancestors came from Jamaica and Barbados, and they built the Panama Canal. They were just ordinary people. But I have to go on soon to talk to these young people, and I have to find something to talk about. Even though they had made me feel so small in the big body and the big age that I had compared to them. But at that moment, whatever happened, I realized that yes, I came from just an extraordinary person, extraordinary people who've done extraordinary things, extraordinary things. I had to lean in to that moment that I was in and saying that it's them and their extraordinary, extraordinary lives that allowed me to be in front of a group of people, that has allowed me to be in front of tens of thousands of people and have them guided on these historical treks throughout the world, largely through the narratives of these same people who I thought put me on at a disadvantage. I thought they put me at a disadvantage. But since that day, I have never stopped leaning into those stories. And now those same people who are just extraordinary people, like many of us on this call, I talked about them on CNN, on Discovery Channel, I mean, on the Travel Channel, all these people. And if you ever read anything that I've written, if you ever watch anything that I've produced, you will always see a name of somebody or who's an ancestor. Because I also realize the power of the written word in the Western world that we live in. And I know that my power that I have within the pen and the power that you all have now as authors, some of you are established authors. Ms. McGowan, I want to write 8 books too, or maybe 9. You know, some of us, we got to just get one out the way. But the power that you all have as established authors and writing in the world in which we live, you have committed your memory, your stories, your history, your contributions, your name to the future generations. It is going to be a very hard thing for anybody to forget who you are, to forget what you've done, to forget what you contributed, and that's power. For those of us who talked about these ancestors that come from these different places, from rural parts of North Carolina to great aunts who wrote stories about their families and plantations, it is power in that to be able to write their names. And so I want to, today, I want to encourage you all to continue doing those things. And what I'll say, because I know this is a graduation. I know it's a graduation. I get it. I get it. I'm a university professor. We got to go to commencements every year. We got to put on the big regalia. Mine is heavy, but I still put it on. I like, because I have to. I represent, because my grandfather was a janitor at the University of Texas at Austin, where I got the PhD, the highest degree that they confer, the same place that they said, not him, that he was only good enough to sweep up floors as a janitor. Not because anything that he did, it was because of their racist attitudes that did not allow Black people to enter into those type of institutions until 1956. But by 1956, he was on kid number 7. He didn't have a chance to go to anybody's University of Texas at Austin. But I walked across that stage, the same platform, the same podium. They said he was only good to sweep up behind. I stand behind and I teach from. Share knowledge. But I always say, if I'm good enough to do it, he surely would have been good enough to do it, because we're of the same blood. And so today, on your graduation day, I want you, like what we have to say when we tell students graduation, because some of you all make it seem like today's the end. But remember, that's why when you go to a graduation, they call it a commencement, because it's the beginning. This is the beginning for all 6 of the graduates who we celebrate today, and everybody else who I hope is encouraged to write your stories and share. This is the beginning. It's not an end. It is a commitment. It's a commencement that we all have made to refuse erasure. We have commenced to do that, to refuse erasure. This afternoon, when you shared, you have commenced to live with great intention. This afternoon, those who shared with us, you have commenced to extend your life beyond the physical. My football coach used to tell us all the time, 1 out of 1 of us is going to die. one of us is going to die. Some of us going to live a long time. Some of us won't live as long. But you have commenced to extend your life beyond the physical pain in which we are here on this earth. And many of the great stories that we heard today, which is the beauty of it, I love the teaching that you're doing, Serena, is it has helped us commence to turn and transform our pain into purpose. Oh, these life lessons y'all gave us. Miss Willie, I was listening. I was like, I can't be that type of husband, because look, she coming right there, I'm flip out. I'm like, well, but that also tells me to live with integrity. Show me I need to live with integrity, that I need to treat my wife with the same, regardless of how our relationship develops over time. And if it moves from the position that we're in now, I still have to act with integrity. I still have to show up, be respectful of time, space, and places. I have to do those things. And so you all have turned your pain into purpose. Pain into purpose. That is pouring into people like me and everybody on this call. And I think the biggest thing today, as we think about your commencements and what you have started to do, you have commenced today to matter out loud. You have commenced today to matter out loud. Think about that. Commence today to matter out loud. Because all of us come from these same group of people, like in the opening video that Zarina showed us, of individuals who have been disconnected from who we are in our beginnings. And all of us, through our different journeys, including our first generation Muslim sisters, who have went on these pathways to find something about themselves and have endured that pain, have mattered out loud. All of us have decided to matter out loud, and that matters because our stories, as we know, living in the United States, as I assume many of us are living in the United States, we understand the current position in which we're living. However, they can tear it down in public. They can take it away in Philadelphia. They can take it out of the schools, but they can't take it from us. And when we matter out loud and we write it down and we take our power and we make it visible in the ways that we can, we are doing the work. So I congratulate you all today for commencing to matter out loud and for sharing your stories. I am elated to be here. This is such a wonderful platform. I'm encouraged to continue telling stories based on who I am and based on who we are collectively to go out and make change around the world. So thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed every last one of these 6 stories. They were amazing. Thank you, Zarina, and congratulations on a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Javier. That was amazing. I knew you was going to bring it. I knew you were going to inspire us. I knew you were going to motivate us. I knew you were going to let us know that we matter and we can matter out loud. I appreciate you so much for giving us your time. I told him, I said, listen, bro, I ain't got your honorarium. I know you be getting those big bucks. I ain't got your honorarium. But he was so gracious to still come and still share and still listen, right, to all of you all here today. So Dr. Javier, I appreciate you. You are indeed a legacy story keeper, right? All of the work that you are doing, we appreciate you. And we pray that all of your work continues to be amplified to all of those around that need what you are doing. And kiss your new baby for us.
Oh, yeah. That's why my camera was off in this interim.
Right.
Moving between the rooms.
We understand. We understand. We understand. So you all, I want to say congratulations to the Legacy Storykeepers. We're going to close out, right? And we're going to allow people, the family members who want to unmute and share and say some things. We're going to let you all come on up and say some things as well. But before we close out, I want to share with you all our Legacy Storykeepers manifesto. So I'm going to share our manifesto with you all. And I wonder if I could do it in a way. Let's see, all of our graduates and all of my legacy story keepers and all of our power authors who are here, let's see if you all can come on, unmute yourselves, and we're going to read this together. I'm going to read it and you're going to say it after me. We're going to do it that way. I'm going to read it and then you're going to say it after me. All right, everybody unmute it. If you got jacked up background, just go ahead and mute yourself back up though. All right, y'all ready? This is our manifesto. This is something that we do in many of our classes, at least once a week. All right, so we are the guardians of our people's stories.
We are the guardians of our people's stories.
The ones who refuse to let history.
The ones who refuse to let history
fade into silence.
Fade into silence.
While the world rushes forward.
While the world rushes forward.
Stand firm.
We stand firm.
We stand firm.
Holding the voices of our ancestors.
Holding the voices of our ancestors.
The lessons of our elders.
The lessons of our elders.
And the dreams of generations yet to come.
And the dreams of generations yet to come.
We believe that stories are more than words on a page.
We believe that stories are more than words
on a page.
They are maps to identity.
They are maps to
identity.
Blueprints of resilience.
Blueprints of resilience.
And whispers of wisdom that deserve to be heard.
And whispers of wisdom that deserve to be heard.
We reject the idea.
We reject the idea
that only the famous or powerful deserve to be remembered.
That only the famous or powerful deserve to be remembered.
Every life is a legacy.
Every life is a
legacy.
Every journey holds value.
Every journey holds value.
Every voice matters.
Every
voice
voice
matters.
matters.
We are the scribes, the interviewers, the preservers of truth.
We are the scribes, the interviewers,
the preservers of truth.
We listen.
We listen.
Listen.
We write.
We write.
We document.
We
document.
We honor.
We
honor.
We do not wait for permission to record our family's history.
We
do not wait for permission
to
to record
our
our family's history.
We do not wait until it's too late.
We do
not wait
Till it's too
late.
We act now.
We
act
now.
Because every day lost is a story at risk of disappearing.
Because every day lost story at risk of disappearing.
We fight against cultural erasure.
We fight against
cultural
erasure.
Historical amnesia.
Historical
amnesia.
And the false belief that our stories aren't worth telling.
And the false belief that our stories aren't worth telling.
We are legacy story keepers.
We are legacy story keepers.
We do this for our families.
We do this for our families.
We do this for our communities.
We do this for our communities.
We do this for the world.
We do this for the world.
And we will not stop.
And we will not stop.
Congratulations. Woo! Everybody unmute yourselves. We're about to take it like a little unmute yourselves, y'all.
I can't.
Congratulations. I am ecstatic. I am overjoyed. I am proud. I am honored that you all are here, that you spent this afternoon with us, this 2.5 hours with us. I think it was a good investment of your time. I hope that you have been motivated. I hope that you are inspired. I hope that you sit at the feet of some elder that you know, your mama, your grandmama, your auntie, your uncle. I hope that you go and ask them some questions. Whether you do a full book with them or not, I pray that you sit and you gather and you lean in to their wisdom, right? Those of you who want to know more about our Legacy Storykeepers program, of course, we invite you all to come in, right? I'm going to open up for Q&A in a moment, and we're going to have anyone here who is interested in giving a shout out to your family. We're going to conclude the graduation, but we're going to stay here for however long. Whoever wants to stay, whoever can stay. I'm going to give you all the opportunity to share your thoughts, your reflections to the graduates. But if you are interested in writing your own story and you want assistance, then I'm going to tell you all to email us at legacy@legacystorykeepers.com. It is a movement. This is a charge. You have a charge on your life to tell your story, to capture your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences. And you have a charge. If you have an elder in your life, you cannot sit and wait and procrastinate and think that you are going to have tomorrow and the next day and the next day. It doesn't work like that. None of us are promised tomorrow. So what do we say in our manifesto? We said that we must act now, right? We have only today. We have only this moment. So I honor all of our graduates, our legacy story keepers. Thank you all again for being here and for going through and for sticking with it and coming out on the other side.